To be or not to be? That is the question. Actually, it's not, because that's not even from the play that we're reading. That's from Hamlet, and we're reading Romeo and Juliet. Class, today we are starting the play Romeo and Juliet, and it really starts out very simply with a prologue. The prologue is kind of like a movie preview. It kind of gives you a taste of what's going to happen. It kind of spoils some stuff, but mostly it lets the audience know what they're getting into. And in Romeo and Juliet and in Shakespeare's time, that was like super explicit. They said it all. So, spoiler alert. Now, these videos, I don't know what the best way to go here is if you should read and then watch the video, or watch the video and then read. But together, you need to watch these videos and do the reading, maybe pausing as you feel needed. I am not going to read the play to you. That would just be super boring. The video, the YouTube audio book that I have attached, it's good, but it's not great. It's really weird how the different actors are read by different voices. But I don't want you to really watch the movies yet because that'll just go way too fast. So the audio book is sufficient. But the basic thing that you need to know with Romeo and Juliet is it's all about two different families. There are the Capulets and there are the Montagues. The Capulets, these two families are very, very wealthy and prosperous, and they're considered good people in the community. Maybe certain people within the families aren't as good, but we don't want to judge, right? We talked about that in Orbiting Jupiter. We're trying to hold back our judgments, but these two families have some issues because basically they love their own family so much they hate the other family. The prologue lays out that we have star-crossed lovers that are from the loins of these two foes. So basically, the father of the Capulets, Lord Capulet, and the father of the Montagues, Lord Montague, they each have children. Juliet is a Capulet. It helps because it rhymes. And then Romeo is a Montague. So Juliet, Capulet, Romeo, Montague. And those two fall in love, even though they're not supposed to. Now, that won't really start to happen until the second act, I believe. But it leads up to it, and the prologue, again, spoils it anyway. These two are star-crossed lovers, so this is where I'd make the connection to Orbiting Jupiter. Joseph and Maddie are star-crossed lovers. The stars are out to get them. The world isn't their friend. Things aren't supposed to work out for them. And it's sad. It's sad to see that. But that is the story. That is the tension and the drama. So these two families, they hate each other. And Act 1, Scene 1, which is what I'm giving you to read today, it starts out with some servants on the street, some of the Capulets, and then they see some of the Montagues. Now, before we get to that, it starts out with some puns, and they're really not the best puns. It talks about collars and collars and colliers, and anyway, there's all these words that are very similar, and what this is sort of simple humor. Remember, with the groundlings in Shakespeare's theater, they were there, they enjoyed the shows, but they kind of liked the simple humor. And so that's what this is kind of appealing to. This is to get them to not throw their tomatoes and things. But it starts out with some simple humor, and then the next thing you know, you've got some servants from the Capulets that noticed some people from the Montagues, and they are ready to have war. These people hate each other. And it talks about how there's been some drama already. They start a fight, essentially, and And in the stage directions, I mean, it says, they fight, and that's like all that's said. It's intense fighting. Later, I will be showing some clips from scenes, and you'll see that different versions of this show extremely intense fighting. But what we have is we have all these people that start, these two families that just start to collide in the town square. Imagine, Fiesta Days, and all of a sudden everybody shows up and there's like this brawl. And that's essentially how Act One, Scene One goes. And it's pretty bad. And in the end, the prince, the kind of like the mayor of the town, he shows up and he chews everybody out. Even the two fathers get involved. Lord Capulet and Lord Montague show up and start fighting as well. There's some pretty funny lines here that happen. At one point, I believe it's Montague, says to his wife, "Fetch me my longsword, ho." He's not calling his wife a whore. He's saying, "Give it to me now." Ho is another word for now. And this is what makes me sad is the version that you're reading, the text that I provided, it doesn't really have all the definitions to help you out. Our textbook is much, much better. It has definitions all up and down the sides. So I might be scanning this so that you can have those. But I thought I'd try this out for the first few scenes and see how it goes. Scene one ends with Romeo not being at the fight at all. He's a Montague, but he's somewhere else. And his cousin Benvolio talks to Lord Montague and says, "Hey, Lord Montague, what's up with Romeo? How come he's not here?" And Benvolio actually has an idea. He goes, "I saw Romeo hiding on the other side of town. He was in the trees. He was like in the park area, just kind of like all mopey and sad." And so Lord Montague says, "Hey, Benvolio, go find your cousin and talk to him. Find out what's going on, and go chat with him." So Benvolio does. He goes and finds Romeo, and they talk about the fighting that just happened. And Romeo's all sad. He's very kind of emo. He's very sad all the time, and just, "Oh, woe is me." But he starts to explain the situation, and it's kind of funny because this is a scene that kids really start to understand. Romeo is in love with a girl. It's not Juliet, actually. He doesn't even know who Juliet is. Romeo is in love with a girl named Rosaline. And Rosaline, I don't know if she's kind of a tease or what's happening, but Rosaline does not love him back. It's kind of one of those things where it's like, "Hey, we can hang out, we can hold hands, but that's it." It's kind of like the whole "I don't date till I'm 16" or something. Romeo doesn't get it. He's like, "What? Wait, I thought you liked me." And Rosaline is like, "No, I'm just still going to play and enjoy being a kid and, just do my thing." It's a little confusing, but that's essentially what's going on in scene one. Romeo's explaining all this to Benvolio. Benvolio understands. And then Benvolio he's committed to trying to help Romeo get over it. And he's like, "Romeo, there are," I love it, around line 215, 218, Romeo's like, "Hey, how can I love another?" And then Benvolio goes, "Give liberty to thine eyes. There are other beauties. Look around, Romeo. There's other girls. You can find somebody else to fall in love with. There are other fish in the sea." It's a very practical bit of advice that Benvolio gives. And Romeo is like, "Well, okay, we'll see." He still is all heartbroken because this girl, Rosaline, doesn't love him back. Then we go to scene 2. Scene 2 is completely different. It's imagine like watching a TV show and like cut to a whole different location. Scene 2 takes place over at the Capulet family. A boy named Paris, who's not a boy, he's like a creepy old man. Paris is talking to Capulet, Lord Capulet, and Paris wants to see if Juliet likes him. Further, he wants to see if Juliet would marry him. Now, let's put this into perspective. Juliet is quite young. She is about 12, maybe 13. The family is like, whoa, she's too young. But the dad, Lord Capulet, marriages back in this time period were not just marriages because you love somebody. It was marriage because it would be politically advantageous for our two families to come together. This is the time of royalty. This is the time of lords and lordships and dukes, and there were those kinds of things, especially, obviously where Shakespeare lived in England. In Italy, it was a political time where families would be aligned together. So Lord Capulet, he's thinking about it. And he tells Paris, he says, Paris, I might let you marry my daughter, but I think she should have a vote in this first. So Lord Capulet isn't quite ready to just like sign his daughter away, but he's like, I think she should decide for herself, and that's kind of where scene 2 takes us. We also have, awkwardly, Lady Capulet, who is not necessarily the best mother. She wants to talk to Juliet because she knows that Lord Capulet wants Juliet to consider being married. Somewhere there was a conversation between the mom and the dad. And so Lady Capulet wants to talk to Juliet about all this. But in scene 2, she asks the nurse to help her. Now, this is all very awkward, and I wish we were actually in class together. But basically, here's what a nurse is at this time period. A nurse is what's called a wet nurse, which means this nurse literally nursed baby Juliet when she was a baby, not Lady Capulet. So the nurse took care of her. She was like a nanny, but she also had a daughter at the same time. So Juliet grew up with the nurse's daughter. That's why the nurse was able to do the nursing, because she also had just recently had a child, and so she was able to produce milk. It's all very awkward, especially as a male, to talk about this. But anyway, Lady Capulet is so awkward around her daughter. She says, "Nurse, come here. I need your help. I can't even talk to my daughter because I don't have a good relationship with her. But you do. Come here. Let's talk." Anyway, Lady Capulet says, "Listen, Juliet, what do you think about getting married?" And Juliet's like, I've never thought about it. And Lady Capulet's like, well, it's time. It's time to think about it. If you're Hispanic, if you are Mexican American, a quinceañera, the 15-year-old party, it's kind of a coming of age type of a party. The Capulets want to do something like that for Juliet, only she's like 12, maybe 13. But basically, it's a coming of age party. It's our daughter's becoming a woman. We're going to have this big party. All of our friends are invited. Oh, hey, Juliet, Paris is going to be there too. And your dad said Paris can talk to you and see if you like him. Very awkward. I mean, it's practically an arranged marriage, but at least they're letting Juliet think about it. And that is basically scene 2 of Act 1. Scene 3 of Act 1 is the preparations for the party. The house is getting ready. Everybody's getting things put together. And actually, I rushed that. I kind of slammed those together. We have the scene 3 is where all that conversation happens with the nurse and Lady Capulet and Juliet. I know this may have been a lot of reading. So what I'm going to do is this is our assignment for Wednesday, the 18th. Thursday, the 19th. If you didn't quite get all of this reading, get it done. That's our plan for Thursday. Don't go ahead and go forward because I'd like you to, we're going to read scene 4 and scene 5 for Act 1. Those will be our reading as we finish this week. It's super important that you keep up on this reading. I will keep making these videos. I will keep putting this commentary. Again, I don't know if it's better for you to do your reading first and then watch my video, or watch my video and then do your reading. I guess I'll let you figure that out, but it should both happen. Don't just assume that you can get away with only listening to my little videos. You got to do your reading as well. I'd love some feedback if you would like to have the version that has all of the words, all the definitions. Comment down below. I'm just kidding. Very YouTuber. If that's something that you're interested in, maybe just send me an email and say, you know, I could really benefit from that. If I get enough of those, then I will take the time and do that. Otherwise, you at least have the body of the text. Sometimes it's a little confusing because it's written in an old-fashioned language, but be patient. Try to read it. Try to listen to it. Again, you have the audio. Listen to it also. That might help you. And then we'll finish Act 1 as this week goes on. Now, as we're reading this, there will also be assignments to go with it. I have a whole study guide, but I don't want to give that to you yet because I don't want to overwhelm you. I know this first day of your work is a lot. That's what's become obvious to me. So I will be adjusting it. Hopefully your other teachers are adjusting their workload as well, because we don't want you guys to be overwhelmed and then just shut down and not do anything. We need you to be involved because you're still required to have this education. So anyway, if you have feedback, send me an email. And we'll just keep these videos going. Sorry, this was a very long one. I will try to keep them at the 10-minute or less, but this is the first time and it's all new for me too. So anyway, we miss you guys. This is the most boring classroom without you here. But hopefully you're being safe and maybe enjoying the time not being at school. Have a great day, you guys. We'll see you tomorrow.